Hey everyone, welcome to the pilot episode of the Infill Lot Recon podcast. My hope is that this becomes a place where investors can come to learn how to save themselves from buying infill lots that can suck them dry. I'll share with you my tips and strategies learned over the last decade helping infill lot investors with their due diligence efforts. Along the way, we'll share stories of our successes and misadventures with the knowledge that through this process, hopefully we can all grow together. My name is Mike Marshall with WholesaleLandDepot.com, and I've spent over the last decade helping investors answer one seemingly simple question. Hey, can I build on this property? Many people believe that this should be a simple yes or no question. Unfortunately, it's much more gray than people would like to think. My goal is to clear up the confusion in the due diligence process and to give you some knowledge and tools needed so that way you know exactly where and how far to dig to get the answers that you need in order to move forward confidently with your next infill lot purchase. We'll talk about things such as zoning regulations, land use restrictions, property constraints, and a lot more so that you know exactly what you're buying and how you can unlock potential value in the property through strategies such as subdivision and use changes. Before we dive into that murky pool, I want to share with you some of my background so you have a sense of where I'm coming from and why I feel I'm even qualified to give advice in this little slice of the real estate world. So here we go. My first experience with real estate was when I was a kid and my dad owned some rental property with a business owner. They owned about 30 to 40 rental units about a half hour from where we lived. He could drive back and forth all the time, managing those properties after work and on weekends. And I remember putting on new roofs and collecting quarters from the laundry machines, all that kind of stuff. Well, fast forward 20 years, and my wife and I were in a similar space, and we're managing our first rental property. I have no reason to know why that was ever a good idea. For some reason, I jumped into that experience completely forgetting a flat-out pain that rental property can be. I think that real estate is like going to get some ice cream or something. You know, there's 100 different flavors. Most you're not going to like, but there's going to be at least one that's just perfect. So I quickly figured out that rental property wasn't my thing. I even tried to do flipping. Flipping houses wasn't my thing. But I was devouring every piece of information I could, buy and hold, flipping houses, lease options, foreclosures, probate, multifamily, and on and on and on. I even, like I said, tried to do some house flipping, but I really saved myself actually on that one. I didn't get into it so far that we even got into one deal. I actually started looking at some houses in the Austin, Texas area, and I just decided that, this wasn't for me. Believe me, I'm not a contractor, and one thing I do believe in life is that you got to play to your strengths, and that is just definitely not one of my strengths. Everyone has a genius, and I knew that wasn't mine. That's basically what it was. But I had to support my family, and I wanted to be as close to real estate as I possibly could. And so I ended up working in the planning field for municipalities in both Southern California and Texas over time. I'd worked with things such as land use permits and subdivisions and changes of use and all sorts of stuff. So over those years, I had a lot of experience in that field and helping people figure out exactly what they can do and not do with their property. And really, it does become somewhat formulaic over time. There's certain things that you have in common, certain things you always want to be asking for. So there are some commonalities, but each jurisdiction is completely different. So I was briefly even starting a consulting business at one time, and my business partner and I, we try to work with local small developers to help them get their projects through the local approval process. And believe me, that's a pain in the butt. But I thought we were really helping people, and still didn't seem the right fit for me though. It was still essentially trading time for money, and I was really not in the place where I wanted to do that. I wanted to be in a situation where I had an opportunity to scale a business. And I would always tell my business partner, I really don't care about the real estate itself. I didn't care about the building on the ground. To me, I really looked at this whole thing as like line items on a spreadsheet. If it could be selling peanuts, and I really wouldn't care. I just wanted it to be something that did the same thing, had the same functionality as real estate. But again, for whatever reason, it seemed like I was always talking myself out of real estate. I couldn't find the exact niche for myself, And like I said, I saw real estate more as a set of numbers. I was trying to use the knowledge and skills that I had gained along the way and to try to kind of leverage myself into some real estate opportunities or to try to find a niche that really spoke to me. But for whatever reason, I was having a hard time figuring out what it exactly was going to be. Well, I don't know exactly how it happened, but one day I was tooling around on the internet and I came across the idea of flipping vacant land. And I knew people that were doing that for a long time, and I saw people on eBay doing that, but for some reason or another, I just never paid that much attention to it. I probably even made some assumptions about it and just blew it off, really. Maybe it wasn't sexy enough, or maybe there wasn't enough perceived money in it. I have no idea, but I just kind of blew it off years and years ago and was just moving on to other things that were more prominent in the space. But anyway, I started listening to the podcast of one of the primary educators in the space, and what they had to say was really, really interesting. But it was something about their approach that just didn't really settle with me. So I kind of kept looking for other people that would kind of provide similar education that really spoke to me better. Well, ultimately I found the Land Academy group, and there was something about their mindset and how they viewed their business that resonated really strongly with me. I think it was the idea that data-driven approach leveraged with, doing direct mail. Something like that really spoke to me. It made sense. It was something that could actually be scaled, something that, again, really spoke to me, I guess. And so finally, I've really felt that I found people that saw real estate the way I did, more as a line item on a spreadsheet, something that I could really build a real business around. So I finally figured out that, real estate didn't have to be really emotion filled. I didn't have to swim in the same dirty waters of the traditional real estate world that many professionals do on a daily basis. I'd really become disenchanted with that world. I felt that it was full of sharks and snakes and charlatans. One thing you should know about me is that I really do believe in the 80-20 principle. In this way, I believe that, 20% of the real estate agents out there are really doing about 80% of the good work. The other guys, the other 80% are essentially useless in my opinion. And even that may be generous, truthfully. But it's been proven to me over and over again every single day in the planning field as well. It applies to agents, architects, engineers, developers, everyone. One piece of advice I'll give you right at the outset is that if you can find a good professional in this field, hold on to them, treat them well, and maintain that relationship as long as you can. Surround yourself with these people, and you'll be at a huge advantage as you progress in your investing career. I know that's not uncommon advice, but I see people get burned every single day by not heeding this simple advice. So with the help of my family in 2017, probably about January, I embarked on the vacant land investing adventure with the intent of growing this part-time venture into a full-time business. To date, we've completed a handful of deals, primarily with vacant rural land, which has been great, but only a few weeks prior to this recording, it became clear to me where I can really be of serious value to other people in the land investing community. I realized that I could help others like you avoid the pitfalls and take advantage of the opportunities that exist on vacant infill lots. It's something I've done for over 10 years. It's something that I feel uniquely qualified to help you with. It's just been something that's been inbred in me. Again, it's something that I can really help people out with. And that's been a really important thing to me. I always wanted to make money, of course, but I always wanted to feel like I was actually helping people, making something better. So I promise from here on out, I won't talk much about myself as much as I have here. Truthfully, it's not something that I'm really comfortable with anyway. Plus, if you came back here to hear about me, I'm not sure what that'd really say about you. So anyway, with each episode, will likely be about 10 minutes long, just long enough to get my point across to you and not too long that you're left bored out of your mind. My hope is that this becomes a community where we can engage in thoughtful conversation, share some ups and downs of our experiences, and maybe even work together on some deals down the road. So with that, I guess it's time to get to work. Thanks for taking the time to listen. I hope you find this experience useful. Take care.